From Squid Game to Blackpink, how South Korea became a powerhouse on the cultural scene. Saje's Gangnam Style was the most famous Korean pop export at the time. Today, it is estimated that there are more than 220 million fans of Korean entertainment in the world. That's 4 times the total population of South Korea. The Squid Game, Netflix's most popular series of all time, has just returned with its highly anticipated second season. Even Beringer was 14 years old when he came across Full House, a South Korean romantic comedy in which 2 strangers are forced to share a house. Sitting in his own home in Memphis, he pressed play assuming it was an Asian remake of the beloved American sitcom from the 1980s. It was only on the 3rd episode that he realized that the 2 series had nothing in common except the name. But he was already hooked. That random choice changed his life. 12 years later, he's an English teacher in South Korea and says he loves life there. I got the chance to try all the food I'd seen on K-series, and I also got to see a few of the K-pop stars whose lyrics I learned perform live, in Korean. When Evan found out Full House in 2012, South Korean entertainment was just a blip on the world's radar. Sae's Gangnam Style was the most famous Korean pop export at the time. Today, it is estimated that there are more than 220 million fans of Korean entertainment in the world. That's 4 times the total population of South Korea. The Squid Game, Netflix's most popular series of all time, has just returned with its highly anticipated second season. How did we get here? The so-called Korean wave swept the world, experts say, when streaming success met American-inspired production values. But Korean entertainment, from pop music to sugary series to beloved hits on universal themes, was ready for it. BTS and Blackpink are now well-known names on the world pop scene. People are swooning over pathetic K-series from Dubai to India to Singapore. Overseas sales of all that Korean content, which includes video games, are now worth billions. Last month, after 53-year-old poet and novelist Han Kang won the Nobel Prize for Literature, online forums were abuzz with memes about South Korea's cultural triumph, a reference to the popular video game series Civilization. And there were jokes about how the country had achieved the dream of founder Kim Kuo, who famously wrote that he wanted Korea to become a nation of culture instead of power. It turned out that this moment had been years in the making. It's all about timing. After the military dictatorship of South Korea ended in 1987, censorship was eased and numerous television channels were opened. Soon, a generation of adult auteurs idolizing Hollywood and hip-hop emerged, says Hae-sung Chung, an assistant professor of Korean film studies at the University at Buffalo. Around the same time, South Korea grew rich rapidly, taking advantage of an export boom in the automotive and electronics industries. And the money from the conglomerates, or chaebols as they are known, is invested in film and television production, giving it a Hollywood sheen. They became the owners of a large part of the industry, from production to cinema. And that's why they were willing to spend money on making movies without worrying too much about losses, says Professor Chung. K-pop, meanwhile, became a domestic craze in the 1990s, leading to the success of such groups as Hot and Shinhwa. This inspired agencies to emulate Japan's brutal artist management system. Discover young talent, often in their teens, and get them to sign long-term contracts that make them perfect idols, with impeccably perfect images and hyper-managed public personas. As the system began to take off, it transformed K-pop, creating more and more idols. By the 2000s, Korean television series and K-pop bands had become hits in East and Southeast Asia. But it was streaming that brought them into the world and into the lives of everyone with a smartphone. Then the recommendation algorithm took over the game. It was key to the initiation of fans of Korean culture, guiding them from one series to another, spanning different genres and even platforms. Foreign and familiar. Yvonne says he binged 16 hours of the series Full House. He loved how the show didn't rush to build a romance, from bickering dialogues to mutual attraction, unlike all the other American shows he'd known up to that point. I was fascinated by every cultural difference I saw. I noticed they didn't wear shoes in the house, he recalls. And so he accepted Netflix's recommendations for more Korean romantic comedies. He soon found himself humming along to movie soundtracks and serials, and was drawn to K-pop. Now he started watching variety shows, a genre of reality television in which comedians go through a series of challenges together. As they work their way through the recommendations, fans are immersed in a world that feels both foreign and familiar, eventually including kimchi jjigae, a spicy kimchi broth, and kalguksa, a seafood and seaweed noodle soup. When Mary Gedda visited South Korea for the first time, she went in search of a bowl of kimchi jjigae, as she had seen the stars do countless times on screen. I cried while eating it. She was so angry, she says. I thought, why did I order this? They eat it up with such ease every series. Mary, a French actress making her way on the film scene, now lives in Seoul. Originally a K-pop fan, she then discovered K-series and learned Korean. She also acted in several episodic roles. I got lucky, and I absolutely love it, she says. For Mary, the food was a big part of the attraction, because she saw a very varied offer in the K series. Seeing the characters build relationships through food was familiar to her, she says, because she grew up in the French countryside in Burgundy. But there is also the promise of love, which attracted Mary Nama to South Korea from her native Belgium. She started watching K-series on a whim after visiting South Korea, but says she kept going because she was quite attracted to all those beautiful Korean men. Those shows are impossible love stories between a super rich guy and a girl who's usually poor, and you know, the guy is there to save her, and that really sells you that dream. But most of these series are written by Korean women. So it is their imagination or fantasy that attracts the interest and hearts of other women from all over the world. In Seoul, Mary said she was treated like a lady, which didn't happen for a long time, but her dating experiences are not exactly what she imagined. I don't want to be a housewife. I want to keep working. I want to be free. I want to go out to clubs with my friends, if I feel like it, even if I'm married or in a relationship. And a lot of guys here don't want that. International fans often look for an alternative world because of disillusionment with their own society, says Professor Chung. Puritan romances, with handsome, caring and chivalrous heroes, appeal to female audiences who turn their backs on what they perceive as hypersexualized American entertainment. And when social inequality became a more prominent theme in Korean films and series, such as parasitic Squid Games, it attracted viewers from around the world disillusioned with capitalism and the widening wealth gap in their countries. Gaining a global audience also brought its own challenges. The increasing use of English lyrics in K-pop has led to criticism. And now the less glamorous side of the industry has come into the public spotlight. The immense pressure that stars endure to be perfect, for example, and the demands of a hyper-competitive industry. Authors of blockbuster series make accusations of exploitation and complain that they are not paid fairly. Still, it's great to see the world paying attention to Korea, says Professor Chung. She grew up in repressive South Korea, when critics of the government were regularly suppressed and/or even killed. She then fled to the world of American films. When is Parasitic played in the cinemas of the small American town where she lives today, she saw on the faces of other spectators the same delight that she herself felt as a child watching Hollywood films. It's great to see our love reciprocated, she says.